I want the Java files. So 2 Java files, the counter.java and the countertester.java. Upload those into a chapter 3 folder in a subfolder called 3e2e_1. Now we're going to do the next one. Simulate a tally counter that can be used to admit a limited number of people. First, the limit is set with a call to public void set limit. So you're going to reuse your counter class, but you're going to add another method to it. You're going to download the tester just like we did. So you're going to download the test file. You're going to open it up in BlueJ. Bless you. You're going to make a new class, blah, blah, blah. And you copy, I will undo my weird underlines. You will copy this into a new class, which is called class counter limit tester. Okay. Nope. Change your illegal quotation marks. And then we have to modify, because if I compile it right now, it's going to say it cannot find the method set limit. Why do you think that's a problem right now in my tester? Why won't it run? What's wrong with it?
Do you need to pull something? Do you need to import something?
No. Have we written the set method yet, or set limit method yet? Have we created it? No, we haven't created it. So it's saying, I don't know how to find that. So that tells you, oh, whoops, I wrote my tester method before I went and actually wrote the class method. So we're going to go into counter, and we're going to write a new method that limits the number of people that you can let into an event. So down here underneath, we already have a header, public void, no return type. It is a mutator. Public void set limit. Now there's a parameter to set limit, isn't there? Based on the assignment, what's the parameter type? So if I open the assignment in Highlander Nation, what? That just, no, inside the parentheses.
No, I know. I'm just trying to.
Well, no, integer is not going to work, is it? Int max. It's a whole number that says how many people am I allowed to count before I'm supposed to stop counting people, simulating that no more can get in. So, kind of like the maximum function, what's the hint here? We'll kind of do it the same thing. Int n equals value, right? N plus plus value equals what? I want the smaller of n and what? I don't want 0 people.
The smaller of n and the min.
My limit. What's my limit?
Max.
It's max. All right, so I pass it here as a parameter, and then I use it here, and I compare n, which is now 1 more. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I have done that wrong. I have misled you. All right, how do you want to do it? No, was that right? Set the limit. How do I want to do this without introducing something new? Let's see here. Here would be the easiest way. We're going to add a new instance field. Private int limit. I can't remember if I told you to do that or not.
Where is that? Up above.
Yep. Going to add a new one. I realize that the way I was initially, it's hard to scale back. There's a lot easier ways of doing this once we learn things like if statements. but we can't do those yet. So
Wait, can you go for a second?
we're just setting a limit here. And we don't want to let you count past the limit. Okay? So we make a new instance field called limit. In our constructor, we need to set it to 0 because we need to set things before we can use them.
Do you always set it to 0? Or as default?
No, you set it to whatever you want it to start at. You could say my default party size is 100 always, unless I tell you otherwise. Well, let's leave it at 100. It doesn't really matter because you're going to set it here. So in here I'm going to say limit equals max. So whenever I tell you what my limit is, that's override my default value of 100, right? Now, where do you think I should check if I've hit my maximum or not? What method should I do that work in to avoid having to do a random statement here? Should add it in here. I should, every time I click,
Wouldn't it be limit, not value?
check my current value against my limit
Oh.
and give me the smaller of the two. So never count above a certain number. Okay?
But why would it be value all the way on the left? instead of
Because I always want my current value to never to exceed my limit. Because my limit, currently my limit is 100. But if nobody's in there yet, I don't have 100 yet. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. But as soon as I hit 100, don't go anymore. Okay?
You want us to set that to 100 or?
Set it to any number you want. Because then with this method, we'll actually use the value that you want to use. Okay? So we'll compile, make sure there's no mistakes. There aren't, of course, because I wrote it. And we're going to open our counter tester and just make sure, we're going to walk through and make sure we know what's going on. So I make a counter object right here. Initially, I have two instance fields now. I have value and I have limit. As soon as I call the constructor method with the new counter command, what does value equal?
value, comma, limit.
Now, yeah, I haven't called click. As soon as I call my default constructor, what is my value?
0.
Is 0. And right now, what does limit equal?
0.
15.
Oh.
No, I said make it 100 at the beginning, right? We haven't changed it yet. What does this do?
Stop it.
That resets it to 15. That's what I want. Now, this is what does this do? Does anybody know?
Yeah,
Clicks 20 times.
Right, it's a loop. Started at 0, go up to less than 20, add 1 every time, boom, 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 because I don't want to right click 20 times. Print get value. Now, what should the value be?
I plus plus.
I called click 20 times, but what should it only output? Why? Because that's the limit that we just wrote. So now when I compile it, it's okay with set limit because now we wrote it. And let's run it and see what we got. Okay. Now, a fun function of BlueJ is that you can make objects of classes without having a tester. And I'm going to do that. So we're going to make a new counter by right-clicking on it and just saying make a new counter. We'll call it whatever we want. We're going to call it counter1. And now it's down here. I want to inspect it because as soon as I make a counter, what instance fields are created?
0 and 100.
Well, that's the numbers, but what are they called? What are their names?
Value and limit.
Value and limit. So if I right-click and tell it to make a new counter, BlueJ is a training IDE, so it'll let you do this. Now I have one down here. Now if I made a new one, why can't I call it counter1? It's already taken. Each object has to have a unique name. Now they're both identical, aren't they? This has a field called limit and a field called value. And when I start, those numbers are 0 and 100. If I inspect this one, counter 2's numbers are also 0 and 100. Now, if I right-click, I can call all my methods. If I click counter 1, what's the value become? What's the value field become?
0.
I just clicked it. So what happens when I click?
Plus 1.
There it goes. You can watch it, see? You can see it
Oh,
change,
right.
right? The storage in the computer changes. Now, let's call the set limit. We're going to give it a number, 15. All right, now it's changed from 100 to 15. This one's still 0 and 100. All right, now if I call undo, what should happen?
Goes
Go
back
back
to
to 100.
No, because what does undo only work on?
Just one.
It only works on my clicks, right? Now if I call get value, it's telling me it's going to return the value, just like a print. All right, now if I click counter 1, let's set the limit here. Let's set it to 3. Now these are different, right? Because I've accessed their methods, and now I can mess with their instance fields differently, all right? But they are otherwise identical. They have the same instance fields and the same methods because they're both counters. Now if I start clicking, when's this going to stop? Why doesn't 2 go any higher? Because we set the limit at 3, right? So here's how I can test methods and I can watch my fields, and sometimes it helps to look at them that way.